Welcome to the Seattle Sports Union podcast. My name is Abraham DeWeese. I'm back again with the Savage Nathan Savage and the Soul Man Brian Solak. We are missing one Southwest Seahawk day in Rob English. I assume that he is at his local church praying for forgiveness or whatever it was that that led to the awful, horrific, and guys, I think downright depressing loss against the Packers this weekend.
I got to chime in real quick. We had a family dinner last night down the street at Emery's on Silver Lake there, and the game was on all over the restaurant, and we were all watching, and it pretty much ruined our holiday dinner. That's how bad this game sucked. So I'll try to keep it PG for you, but I just had to throw that in there.
Your holiday dinner? Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I know that, Nathan, you're very upset at John Snyder right now. And, in addition to going after him about the team, you should go after him about ruining Brian's dinner.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think, some of what we saw looked a lot like games early in the year, especially the Buffalo game. The worst part about it for me is the fan situation still. I know you were at the game, Abe.
Wait, hang on. All right. Yes, I was at the game. I thought the worst was the John Snyder, but let's go with this route here. You got a problem with the fans, huh?
I got a problem with the look like about 50-50 split with Green Bay. And I know after that, there's been some complaints about ownership or the way the season tickets are set up. And for me at that level, to have a fan appreciation night and then create a setup with season tickets where it makes more sense to sell tickets than go to the games. I'm pretty upset about ownership over it. I think it's rough when you have to go to silent count in your home stadium, and I didn't ever think that would be a problem for the Seahawks, even from the Kingdome days, and now here we are. From what I've heard, getting the Blue Jays treatment for the Seahawks. So that is just inexcusable. Yeah.
So it was about 30%, which is about the same as the Bills, but it's a loud 30%. And, when you consider like at third quarter, the stadium's emptying full of Seahawks fans and all that's left are the Packers. Then, it's not a good look. Soul Man, this team, the pride in this team, and it always been like Fortress Seattle, haven't it? Where you don't just come in here and overtake the Seahawks fans. Do you have the same impression that Nathan is? Is there a little bit of a letdown in the fan base?
I do agree with Nathan. I am let down with the fan base. I mean, a couple of reasons. I mean, number one, I was thinking, does that tier every game now on the schedule that has like tiered pricing to where I believe my brother said this game there are tickets as much as $400 or $500 per seat throughout the stadium, even up on the 300th level, and that could have an effect on whether Seahawks fans pay for it or or the opposing fans. But last 5 years in general, we've had basically a 500 record where we no longer have the home field advantage in Seattle anymore. It's a shame. It's an embarrassment watching it. I can't afford to go to these games, so if I could, I would. But watching it on TV, and it's not as loud as it was back in the day when 80s, 90s, early 2000s. It's changed a lot, and I know I'm not the only one out there who's frustrated by that.
Yeah, no, I know I've seen you like. You go to about one game a year, which is what a lot of people do. And, Nathan, same with you, right? I mean, it's, and you want that one game to be some sort of like extraordinary event, where it's a community coming together, and that's waning. And I was there, and, I have to admit, like, I'm disappointed in the seats to my immediate right, where I don't think have seen the actual owners of those seats.
Oh wow!
And it's the Buffalo Bills fans when they came, they sat in the seats to our right, Packers, game, same. There was I'm trying to remember what other Rams game, same thing. And there are people using these seats as passive income. That's all I can say is like
Yeah.
they're using this as a way to make money rather than come cheer their favorite team. And what can you do about that? I mean, obviously, what the team can do is be better. That helps.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, what you guys like? I mean, I feel like I'm trying to defend the fans here that do show up to the games. What do you two think should be done?
I mean,
'Cause there
for
are
me,
fan- there
this
are-
is the last ones who should be blamed are the fans at the game. You're doing exactly what you should be doing. You're rooting on the Seahawks. That's we've been seeing. But for me, it's more of some of the new practices with the ownership starting to sell season tickets, having a resale market on their own website for the Seahawks.
So what would you do?
And
What would you do about that?
well, I think one thing it's doing is it's encouraging
Oh no,
fans
no.
to use their.
I'm saying, what
oh,
would
yeah.
what would you do about that?
I don't like the setup of it because it's encouraging. So the way they're doing is they're giving season ticket holders who sell through their website, they're giving them seat protection. So whoever they sell to will no longer cause that season ticket holder to potentially get their season tickets removed if they do something terrible.
So
And I think what that incentivizes right now is to use their market, and it's marked up prices so the Seahawks can take a pay or percentage of that cut. That's why they're doing it. And I think a lot of opposing fans are using that website. And I think little things like that is what's contributed to this setup where tickets have really blown up in price. And then on top of that, the Seahawks are double dipping on the resale market now of selling tickets. And on top of that, asking for a cut out of the tickets when they get resold. And I just think little by little being very greedy,
so you would
caring
you would
more about the dollar has started
you would
to
want the
trickle
ownership
in.
then to end the practice of legitimizing season ticket holder sales.
I don't know. I just think maybe they could keep it a little bit cheaper and not need to take a cut of it or whatever the situation. I just feel like it's a bitter taste in my mouth when if they're going to come out, of course, and complain about the fans, I'd assume, when they're continuing these kind of new practices that are little by little pushing out their fan base and kind of
Well,
pricing out a lot of their fans.
I'm looking for answers. So, man, is there anything that you can think of that might help this situation?
I guess besides putting a better team on the field, I would go with, crazy as it sounds, but I think they need to resurrect Bill the Beer Man from the dead, man. It is seriously, it is so quiet in that stadium, in my opinion. I'm getting old. I'm deaf as heck, but every last few years, every game I've gone to, it's not as loud as it used to be. I think it makes a big difference when the fans are into the game, from the beginning to the end, and we've really lost that home field advantage, so it's quite disappointing.
Well, I think I'm gonna stand up for you guys. Then I've got some ideas. Let me bounce this off you guys.
Please.
What if one, you stop legitimizing the resale of tickets that belong to season ticket holders? Yes, the season ticket holders can always turn around, secretly sell it, without anybody noticing, right? I get that, but if you stop the legitimization of it, you're taking away a revenue source from the Seahawks. But it kind of needs to be done if you're trying to hold this Fortress Seattle perspective. I mean, like, another thing you could do is, like, if there is a resale of season ticket holders, maybe it should go to people on the season ticket holder waiting list. And if you sell it to the people on the season ticket holder waiting list, they can't resell it. It's 2024. We can track these things, right, guys?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm very frustrated as a Seattle fan in general of ownership base blaming the fan base or saying what's going on with the Seattle fan when I think they're in abundance. It's just to me, they've just been priced out of games. I don't know exactly where the line is for the ownership, if they're even ever considering lowering ticket prices. But it feels like, from at least what I've seen, season tickets have gone up, 5 to 10% every year. Eventually, that's just going to price out a lot of fans and price in a lot of um, kind of people trying to make money in the resale market.
Still,
And we've seen it throughout the NFL. It's not only in Seattle, but it seems like it's a big conversation right now because of how famous the 12th man was, um, that it's kind of faded out now
well,
as a home field advantage.
well, one thing that somebody brought up to me was, they asked me why Green Bay, why Buffalo, why Kansas City. These teams don't sell their tickets. They don't have the same, reach for, uh, visiting teams. And the first thing that came to my head is destination. Who in their right mind that doesn't live in Wisconsin is going to Green Bay in December?
Yeah.
True.
I agree. Same with Buffalo as well and Kansas
Same with
City.
Buffalo,
Yeah, I
same with
agree.
Kansas City. But,
Yeah.
are people going to Phoenix, LA, Miami, and Seattle? I mean, Seattle not great in the winter, but it's better than the, minus 40 and shoveling 12 feet of snow off your car, right?
Yeah, and I think it's become a little bit. I think Lumen's become just because of kind of the fame of the Legion of Boom and the 12th man during that era. I think it's become a little bit of a destination for NFL fans in general, and which is a good thing. I just would like it to be a little bit noisier on the Seattle side and a little bit quieter on the away team side.
Yeah. Well, another thing they could do too is maybe make a specific section like soccer. That's the away team section. If you're wearing the away team's jersey, you are moved physically from your seat and required to go down to the away team
Yeah.
supporting section.
And if you celebrate the other team and you're not sitting in the waist section, they can kick you out as
Exactly.
well.
They
Yeah.
do that in soccer all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we haven't actually talked about the game. I think we're trying to avoid this. I know, Nathan, with that restraining order that John Snyder has against you, that maybe you're not allowed to say everything you want to say, but you're not happy with the team makeup. We'll get to you in a minute. Brian, is this a matter of just lack of talent, lack of energy, lack of play calling? What did you see in the game yesterday?
I guess from where I was watching, but then I followed up and watched all the highlights after. A little bit of everything, man. I mean, it's like they didn't show up to play. We the last few weeks showed what we could, what talent we do have, the potential we could have. I mean, it didn't seem like. I mean, I know we always complain about our offensive line, but last few weeks they've done well, and it seems like this week they just didn't give a shit. They didn't showed up, and
let's talk about the offensive line. Now, we had a backup center, right?
Yep.
Some kid out of North Dakota State. I've already forgotten his name. I apologize for that. But like when I was at the game, you guys were texting me, yeah, too bad about Oluwatimi. And I'm like, what? And then next thing I saw, the very next play was them just crushing it, the Packers crushing it up the middle on this undrafted free agent.
Him, and then also that our right guard, who I thought did well last few weeks, and yesterday he just looked awful.
Laumea.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't pronounce his name. Just a little bit of everything, like you said.
For me, I actually am not too upset at the O-line this game. I think it's a top 5. It's an elite defensive line that they played against. We've seen all year, they're trying their best, but they're not matching up. If there's anyone to blame in this situation, it's just Snyder for thinking, he's the Wizard of Oz and just the genius of football and can pull the right strings to magically not need to draft O-linemen, and magically everyone in the NFL is wrong, and magically all the Super Bowl winners drafting O-line have no idea what they're doing, and he has the secret formula to not draft O-line and somehow make a competent offense. And I don't even blame, the backups or the players like that should be backups that are starting for these issues. I think this is just fully on Schneider and fully his philosophy being incredibly outdated or just plain stupid. And we see what happens when we're expected to, or the Seahawks are expected to try to play offense with no blocking.
So
And
so Jalen
I think that's, yeah.
so Jalen Sundell is the name of the guy, the center.
Yeah.
And when you say not drafting offensive linemen, you don't mean that literally, right? Because they have drafted offensive linemen.
No,
I think you're talking about the quality of the guy and and how high up that they.
no,
Uh,
I think the past couple years, has sorted that out. The problem with O linemen is it takes a really long time for them to gel. You want some cohesion, you want some consistency. 10 years ago, it was his philosophy. And for about 2 years now, he's realized his mistakes and tried to scramble. I just think it's the timing isn't very good. And exactly, they're not using enough draft capital on it. But I think more than anything, I just look at free agency, um, and some of the guards that teams have picked up and been successful with. And the Seahawks coming into the season knowing they had a pretty terrible O line last year and choosing to um, only draft O line in positions that take a long time to develop and not bring in really any legit veterans to try to plug those gaps and then expect some miracle to happen. So
okay, so it's a
yeah,
system then. It's not just the draft because like I said, Lucas Cross, Laumea, Hines, Oluwatimi. That's an entire draft of an offensive line in 2 years. But you're
yeah,
right. There's not a supplement uh, of guys. At least there's not a good supplement. I mean, they brought in Connor Williams. They brought in Fant. Uh, injury riddled dudes. Um,
Tomlinson. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Lakin
Tomlinson.
Tomlinson. Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I think it's about 10 years now, right, that they've had a bottom 10 O line, something like that.
yeah. So I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like the draft capital is there. I think the free agent scouting isn't there, and maybe the draft scouting isn't there. Brian, other than the offensive line, what were you disappointed by? Was there a position group that you didn't?
Defensive back in particular, Rick Woolen. I think he's regressed, and I think he's. Oh my gosh, I know I haven't brought him up in our discussions, but he's just can't play the position anymore. I mean, I would throw him in maybe on third down to help out with the defense, but I don't think he's good enough to start on this team anymore. He just makes terrible decisions out there. I don't get it. I don't play football, so what the hell do I know? But I think he's a bad football player. At least he's playing bad right now, and something needs to be done.
I've heard a lot of people complain about Rick Woolen. I'm not. I'm not on his case, to be honest. Like, I don't think that he is so terrible that he doesn't deserve a spot in the NFL. I mean, you're going to have to ask yourself, like, is he worse than Trey Brown? Is he worse than Artie Burns? Those are the guys that would replace him. And I don't know if he's worse than that. In fact, I don't think he is. You got any thoughts on that one, Nathan?
For me, he's a product of kind of the Revis Island situation where Witherspoon's just so solid on one side that when it's going to be a big play, it's going to be on the other side with Woolen. I agree that I don't think he's taken the next step like we thought he potentially would have, but I think he's still allowing one of the lowest completion percentages in the NFL. It's just right now, even though he's got that big frame, it seems like we're seeing this big play against them every game or this fade route over the top every game, and that's something they're going to have to figure out because it seems like a little bit of a weakness that opposing teams have started to attack. But for me, I actually was really happy with the way the defense played. Um, I thought they really settled down again in a situation where they just weren't on the same level of talent as the Green Bay offense, and I thought they actually kind of
Yeah,
held their own, especially late in the game.
guys, maybe we need to talk about that. Maybe we need to talk about our 4-game winning streak. We're against some pretty untalented teams, and maybe they ran into a team. I still am of the opinion Jordan Love is not the end all be all at quarterback. I think he's average. Um, but average can do a great job when you're talented everywhere else. You brought it up to me, Nathan. You were messaging me about like when you've got a monster offensive line, it lifts everything else up, and it lifts Love up to, some sort of respectability. Because guys, you're watching. I was watching. He was missing a lot of open dudes.
Yeah,
Like it's not
yeah,
like
he's thrown in. Yeah,
Tom
no,
Brady back there.
yeah, I'd say he's their weak link. I think they have just an elite running back again, unstoppable O line. Those young, just super fast, super coordinated wide receivers. One of the best offensive minds in the NFL. And yeah, I think he's their weakness, right? But even with him being a weakness, he makes some pretty crazy throws every game. And I think they have a solid enough defense where he can make mistakes and they'll still be a contender. Now, I don't know if they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they're in the conversation just based on who they've beat, who they've played close games with, and then who they've lost to.
Brian, you feeling any better about all the naysayers to Geno Smith? Your people like Matt Page out there who are shoveling dirt on him. Well, he's down, and we got to see the other option, right?
That's my response to the other option. And as for Matthew Page, he's negative towards a lot of everything right now. But again, I'm trying to appreciate Gina more and more. I mean, I obviously after seeing our backup come in, I have more and more appreciation for Gino. Gosh, I don't know, man. I they're saying good things about him coming back this next week, and I hope to God that he does. But if for some reason he doesn't, then I just think we need to call it a season because I don't see us. What's the point? What's the point of trying to play for the playoffs if we can't win?
Well, I mean, the point for playing the playoffs is you build momentum going up into next year. You also get win shares, as far as ticket sales and promotions, that kind of thing. If you're the team itself, if you're the fans, you get bragging rights over those idiots down in California and Arizona. That's the point, I guess, right?
Good point. Yeah, think about that.
I mean, I refuse to just hand this over to the Rams, guys.
I hope it comes down to the last game, even if whatever happens. But it's
no. I hope it doesn't get down to the last game. I hope the Rams screw around and fiddle around and lose the next 2 games, so that last game doesn't matter. Because guys, I'm a little bit scared to go down to the Rams with the hot hand that they have lately.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it seems like I think it's pretty much inevitable now that it's going to be a must-win game. Win and you're in. I still think is on the board even with the loss to Minnesota. But man, I just want to say for even poor Sam Howell, like imagine coming in cold, not really playing a snap all year, and my mom, 6-year-old mom who watches a little bit of football but doesn't know that much Japanese, said it better. Who's herself couldn't have said it better than I couldn't said it better than her when I talked to her on the phone. She asked me, "Is something going on? Do they not have running backs? What's going on?" Imagine bringing that guy in cold off the bench, making him throw the ball, stand up tall in the non-existent O-line and get sacked basically 3 plays in a row. Forget that your running game doesn't exist except for when you hand it off for it seems like a nice long touchdown, and still continue to make your your backup sit up there in the pocket when the other team knows that they're not going to hand the ball off. And I'm just sitting there wondering, what what conversation was going on where they thought, oh, we're just gonna, you know, have the leader in interceptions last year just be forced to throw the ball on every single play, not even try running him, not try running the running backs. Like,
Brian,
I don't know what's going on there, but that was incredibly frustrating.
Brian, do you have a response to Mother Savage? And
It's excellent points. I mean, we got Charbonnet, who's freaking impressive. I never thought he would be doing this, and I think he's legit to where we can talk about it another time, but we may not see Walker back next year. Charbonnet's proven that he could start for us. I don't know what the hell. I mean, I love Grubb, and I see Matthew Page complaining about Grubb all the time, and
Nathan Savage too.
Yeah.
You can't throw it all on Grubb, though. I mean, doesn't McDonald have the final say? And I mean,
Yeah.
can he override some of these
Yep.
play calls? Yeah. So it's 50-50.
Sorry, Mama Savage, but this is the soul man talking here. You can't blame it all on Grubb. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we put this on Grubb, but it's not his. It's not his team, really. I mean, we can't just say that all the blame is going to be on this offensive line. All the blame is going to be on Grubb, or all this blame is going to be on Geno. It's kind of everything.
Mhm.
And this team was supposed to be a rebuild year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we should be throwing out the baby with the bathwater here. And this offensive line, you're right, has to be rebuilt, or else nothing's good going to come in next year without that. But I think there is something salvageable with Grubb, with Geno, with okay, maybe not the tight ends. That's kind of down the list on things that are problems, but I think that's a problem as well. But there's we got to keep the perspective. This was a rebuild year. We're still in the playoffs. They're gonna have to come up with something against these better teams, because Minnesota is even better than the Packers.
Yeah, for me, it's just your quarterback's going to ask for about 20 million more a year. Your running back ran for 100 yards last game, averaged over 6 yards a carry this game, got 8 touches, got 8 handoffs. I don't know who to blame, and I'm totally okay with blaming McDonald. I know early in the year he got upset and said they needed to run the ball more and that he would talk to Grubb, and maybe something's happened and he's decided to back off. But yeah, I just think in terms of the offensive side of the ball, it's about as bad as I've seen in a long time as a Seahawks fan. And I'm okay with that if our philosophy is going to be defense. But then in that situation, I don't know if you can be paying your quarterback $40 million a year for 15, 20 points a game. So if they don't make the playoffs, I think they're going to have some very big conversations to have. And if a guy like Sam Howell is back there next year, I'm wondering how long Grubb's going to have before, the off with his head chants are going to start up. So
they're already starting.
Yeah,
they're
we'll
already
see.
starting.
Yeah.
But guys, we're getting towards the end here, and I do have one last question I want to bring up about no stats. I don't need stats. I don't need facts. Feelings. What was your feeling about the loss yesterday versus, let's say, the Bills, or one of the other drubbings that we've had this year? Do you feel like we're any better, worse, the same?
I personally feel like shit over it. The Bills I expected to lose, even that big, but whether the opponents last few weeks weren't as good, we still played solid football the last few weeks, and I felt the buzz going into the game yesterday. I felt we were going to come out on top, and there was once that after the first kick, first kickoff. I mean, everything turned to they crushed my spirit 100%, dude,
and ruined your dinner.
And ruined my dinner, yes.
Nathan?
For me, I was actually encouraged. I know after going on that rant. But I think there's something nice to see with this team in the second half. And I think that starts with the defense. I think until Gino got injured, there was a little bit of momentum there. We'd come down, scored that touchdown. Defense had been holding its own a little bit better. Um, we were kind of in striking distance, and then Howell came in and looked like he didn't know that there was an option to get rushed in the NFL, and he might have to avoid sacks. And that is what it is. I'm not that honestly is not going to bother me or be too upsetting for me. And some of their points came off of his interception. That is one thing I like about this team. Since after about that Bills game, is it feels like they have this little extra bit of intensity even when they start to go down early, and they continue to fight, especially on the defensive side. But Gino's always had that as well, and I think that's with some of the wide receivers, we're always able to potentially drive down the field in a few quick plays. So I was encouraged until the Gino injury. Gino injury felt to me like the end of the season, but we'll see what happens. There's some tough matchups coming up, but yeah, just I actually did feel pretty encouraged by the defense, and even though they got punched in the mouth, it really felt like they got up in the second half and shut down an offense that had been dominating them in the first half.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to parrot some things here. I was encouraged that even though we gave up 17 points on the first 3 drives in that first quarter, we started locking them down at that point. But yeah, I gotta say exactly what you said, Nathan. When Gino went down, I started thinking like, okay, this whole season is turning to poo in front of us, right?
Yeah.
It's I was okay with taking a L to the Packers because I kind of in my mind figured we're going to lose to Packers, we're going to lose to the Vikings, but we make up for it, against the Bears and the Rams to win the title. But I mean, like losing our quarterback and having basically a tackling dummy with a as a backup, it just I start seeing, okay, lost to Vikings, lost to Bears, lost to Rams. Yeah, and I say it again, the Oluwatimi loss at center, I could definitely see where the offensive line looked like hot garbage. And again, big props to the North Dakota State kid for jumping in, Sundal, but like there is a big difference between his ability, being right off the streets versus Oluwatimi, who's been groomed for this position for the last couple of years. God, we need Olu back. We need Gino back, or else it's just going to be bad times.
Yep.
All right, guys. As always, let's try to do our shout outs to end on a positive. I'll start you off with Soman.
I'll try to be positive. Shout out to my Washington State University. We lost our quarterback, Mateer, today to the portal. He's off to the SEC to play most likely for Oklahoma Sooners and $3 million plus. But they gave it all out effort, including the city of Pullman. They offered him Mateer 7 figures, and they did their best. What are we going to do? But I just want to give them a shout out.
Nathan, who's your shout out this week?
I just want to shout out. I spent some time at the, with the relative, keeping an eye. They're okay now, discharged, but at the UW Hospital, Northwest Hospital, and just couldn't say enough positive words about the nurses and the physical therapists, occupational therapists, and the doctors there. Of just how welcoming they are, and how very difficult job at times in the emergency room. They're always staying positive and always providing the best care that they're able to. And yeah, just really want to shout out that the UW Northwest Hospital.
Right on.
I'm going to give a shout out to the Seattle Sports on What. I'm sorry, we're the Seattle Sports team. I want to give a shout out to the Sports on What app team. It's an app that I'm working on with some other guys. We've just launched our commercials on KISW for
nice.
The men's room. We're also offering now a free version. So people please go out and check out our apps, Sports on What. tells you what time the games are on what channel in your area. There's now a free version. Please check that out. A lot of hard work from my team on this one. And also I want to give a shout out to all the season ticket holders that did show up to the game. Let's remember that there are actual Seahawk fans out there. Let's not let some profiteering bad people get us down. Real sports, real 12s are real 12s. And I want to thank everybody out there for listening to us on the Seattle Sports Union podcast here. Check us out on YouTube as well. Check us out on Spotify, iTunes as well. Check us out on social media at Seattle Sports U as well on Facebook. And on behalf of the Soul Man, Brian Solak, the Savage, Nathan Savage, and myself, Abraham DeWeese, we'll see you guys next time.
Go Hawks.